Tonight, let's take a journey together into a place that feels almost too magical to be real. A place where the night never feels heavy or dark, because the sky is filled with drifting lanterns, each one glowing like a little star, floating slowly into the heavens. Picture yourself standing on a quiet balcony, looking out over a city you've never visited before. But somehow, it feels familiar. The air is cool and fresh, carrying the soft scent of flowers after rain. Below you, winding streets curve gently between stone buildings, their windows glowing with the warm light of candles and lamps. And above, the sky shimmers with thousands of lanterns, moving upward in slow, graceful waves. Each one holds a tiny flame at its heart, carrying a wish, a memory, or maybe even a dream. They rise together, drifting higher and higher until they disappear, as if the stars themselves are calling them home. As you stand there just watching, you feel your breathing slow down. You take in a deeper breath and then let it out gently. Your shoulders relax, the weight of your day begins to melt away, and it feels like time itself is slowing down. Here in the city of Loria, there are no clocks, no noise, no rush. There are only lanterns, the sky, and you, standing quietly in the glow of it all. But tonight, something feels different. Among all the lanterns rising toward the stars, one lantern does not follow. Instead of drifting upward, it glides downward, slowly, deliberately, glowing with a light that feels alive. As though it isn't just floating, it's searching. And somehow you know, it's searching for you. This is where our story begins, with a lantern that doesn't rise into the sky, but instead guides you gently into the unknown. The city of Loria is unlike anywhere else in the world. By day, its streets are quiet and filled with soft light that falls across cobblestone paths. Shops open their shutters lazily, flowers spill from window boxes, and fountains sparkle in little squares where neighbors gather to talk. But it is when the sun sets that Loria truly comes alive. Every evening, just as twilight deepens and the first stars begin to show, the people of Loria step outside with lanterns in their hands. Some carry them to honor memories. Others light them for loved ones far away. And some, without even knowing why, light a lantern simply because it feels right. The ritual is as old as the city itself. When the last bell of the evening rings, every lantern is released, and slowly, like glowing petals caught in a breeze, they rise upward together, filling the sky until the heavens shine brighter than the day. It is said that each lantern carries something inside it, a whisper of a dream, a piece of a story, or even a wish left unfinished. Where the lanterns go, no one truly knows. But here, in Loria, people believe the sky listens, and they keep sending lanterns upward night after night because it feels like hope itself. Among the people of Loria, there is a quiet traveler named Elian. Not a wealthy man, not a famous one, just someone who drifts from place to place, never staying too long. Elian has walked many roads, crossed forests, and sailed along distant rivers. But in Loria, for the first time in years, he lingers. No one asks him why. He carries no heavy luggage, only a small satchel and a notebook, worn at the edges. Some nights he sketches the lanterns as they rise. Other nights he simply sits on a bench, watching them float until the sky swallows them whole. It is not happiness he feels exactly, but there is a quiet comfort here, a stillness he had not found anywhere else. Elian has a gentle face, lined a little from travel and time. He does not speak much, but when he does, his voice carries the weight of kindness. Children are not afraid to wave to him. Shopkeepers nod when he passes. He is part of the city, yet apart from it, like a leaf drifting on water, carried along by the current. On this night, as lanterns rise all around him, Elian notices something unusual. At first, it is only a flicker, a lantern drifting lower, glowing stronger than the rest. While others float upward like stars in slow motion, this one sways downward as though pulled by some invisible thread. Elian leans forward, his breath catching just a little. The lantern drifts closer. Its glow is not like firelight, but softer, like moonlight caught in glass. And as it passes above the square, Elian feels, deep in his chest, that it is calling him. He glances around. No one else seems to notice. The townspeople laugh, talk, and point upward at the sky, where hundreds of lanterns climb into the night, but their eyes do not follow the one lantern that falls. Only Elian sees it. Only he feels it. The lantern drifts lower, moving down a quiet street that winds toward the edge of the city. Without thinking, Elian rises to his feet. His notebook slips into his satchel, and his steps follow the light. It glides just ahead of him, never too far, never too close, like a firefly guiding the way. And as Elian walks deeper into the streets of Loria, a hush falls around him. The laughter of the crowd fades. The sounds of the city dim. It is as though he has stepped into a dream, one where only he and the lantern exist. He does not ask where it leads, he only follows. The lantern moved ahead, glowing softly, pulling Elian away from the familiar streets of Loria. He passed narrow alleyways, where ivy climbed across stone walls, and empty courtyards where fountains whispered gently into the night. The further he followed, the quieter the city became, until at last, even the faintest sound of voices faded behind him. The lantern guided him to the city's edge, where cobblestones gave way to a narrow dirt path. Beyond it stretched the open fields, tall grasses bending under the hush of the midnight wind. Elian hesitated for a moment, looking back over his shoulder. The city lights twinkled faintly behind him, the last signs of warmth and company. But the lantern pulsed, almost like a heartbeat, and then drifted forward once more. So Elian stepped into the fields. The grasses brushed against his hands as he walked, their tips catching the lantern's glow, sparking like tiny threads of silver. Above him, the night sky was heavy with stars, scattered so thickly it felt like a river of light. The lantern's soft glow mingled with the stars, and Elian began to feel that he was not walking on earth at all, but drifting between two skies, one above, one below. He walked for what felt like hours, though time seemed to move differently here. His legs should have ached, but they did not. His eyes should have grown heavy, but instead they grew clearer, seeing every detail as though through the eyes of a dream. At last, the lantern slowed. It hovered above a small hollow in the earth, where a circle of stones marked the ground. In the center, hidden beneath moss and vines, was something Elian had never noticed before, an ancient well. Its stones were weathered smooth, glistening faintly as though touched by moonlight. The lantern dipped lower, then stopped, hovering directly over the well's dark mouth. Elian stepped closer, his breath quiet in his chest. He peered into the opening. It was not blackness that met his eyes, but light. Soft, rippling light, as if the well held an entire sky of its own. Stars shimmered deep inside, twinkling gently, and waves of silver drifted across what looked like water. The lantern pulsed once more. Then, like a falling star, it slipped into the well and disappeared. Elian hesitated only a heartbeat, and then, without fear, he placed his hands on the edge of the well, leaned forward, and let himself fall. He expected the sharp rush of air, the weight of falling, but instead, it was like sinking slowly into a warm river. The air itself seemed to cradle him, holding him softly as he drifted downward. Colors glimmered around him, pale blues, silvers, faint touches of gold. It felt like he was floating through the night sky itself, surrounded by starlight. And then his feet touched solid ground. Elian opened his eyes and found himself standing in a vast cavern, though it was unlike any cavern he could imagine. The ceiling stretched high above him, glowing faintly with drifting motes of light. The floor was smooth and glassy, reflecting the glow until it felt like he was standing inside a lantern of his own. And scattered across the cavern, floating gently in the air, were hundreds of lanterns. But these were not like the ones above Loria. These lanterns did not rise or drift toward the heavens. They hovered softly in place, swaying gently as though caught in an unseen current. Each one glowed with its own color, some pale and faint, others bright and shimmering. And as Elian stepped closer, he saw that inside each lantern was not fire, but images, dreams. One lantern showed a small child painting stars across the sky with a giant brush. Another held the vision of a woman walking on waves of an endless sea. Another glowed with the image of a boy and his dog, racing through fields of golden grass that stretched forever. Forgotten dreams. Dreams that had slipped away from the people who once held them, gathered here, glowing, waiting. Elian's breath caught softly in his chest. He reached out, though he did not touch, only watched as the images shimmered inside their delicate glass shells. Each lantern pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, as though it remembered the longing that once created it. The lantern he had followed drifted slowly ahead, weaving between the glowing lights. Elian followed, his steps hushed, as though walking in a sacred place. At the center of the cavern, the lantern stopped. It floated above a still pool of water, perfectly smooth, reflecting the lanterns above like a mirror of the sky. Elian knelt at the edge, peering into the water. And there, reflected back at him, was not only his own face, but memories. He saw himself as a boy, sitting beneath a tree with a sketchbook, drawing pictures of birds and mountains, dreaming of adventures far away. He saw himself years later, standing on a ship's deck, staring into the horizon with hope burning bright in his chest. And he saw himself now, tired, quiet, drifting through life like a man without an anchor. His heart softened. He realized that the lantern had not simply chosen him. It had carried him here, to remind him of the dreams he once held. Dreams he had set aside, forgotten in the quiet march of years. Elian closed his eyes, breathing slowly, deeply. He let the memories wash over him, not with regret, but with gentle understanding. The dreams had not vanished. They had only waited, glowing quietly until he was ready to remember them. The lantern pulsed once more, brighter now, casting a soft light across his face. It drifted closer, hovering just above his heart, as though to place itself back within him. Elian lifted his hands, not to hold it, but simply to welcome it. And with a final shimmer, the lantern dissolved into light, sinking gently into his chest, until its glow became part of him again. For the first time in many years, Elian felt whole. Not restless, not searching, not lost, but peaceful. He sat quietly by the pool, surrounded by the glow of countless other lanterns. He knew that each one held a dream, waiting for someone to remember. Perhaps others would find their way here as he had. Perhaps not. But it no longer mattered. He understood now that no dream was ever truly gone. They waited, patiently, like lanterns in the dark, until someone was ready to find them again. And so, when Elian finally stood, his steps were light, his heart unburdened. The cavern glowed around him, shimmering softly, as though blessing his return. And once more he felt himself being lifted, carried upward, cradled by light. Until at last, he opened his eyes, and found himself standing again in the quiet fields beyond Loria. The city twinkled gently in the distance. Above, the sky was filled with lanterns rising toward the stars. But this time, Elian smiled, because he carried one of those lights within him now, and he knew it would never fade. Elian stood at the edge of the fields, the lanterns of Loria glowing above him like a second sky. The city was just as it had been when he left it, quiet, peaceful, alive with light. And yet, everything inside him had shifted. For so long, he had wandered without a path. He had thought of himself as a traveler, moving place to place, never settling. But now, he understood. He had not been searching for a new place to rest. He had been searching for himself. The lantern's gift was not in showing him some faraway treasure. It was in reminding him of the treasure he already carried, the dreams he once held, the light he had forgotten. And with that memory alive in him again, Elian felt no more need to drift aimlessly. He could rest here in Loria or anywhere he chose. Because peace was no longer something outside of him, it was within. He walked slowly back toward the city. The streets were still, but not empty. A few late lanterns floated upward from balconies, their flames swaying in the night breeze. The glow brushed across Elian's face as he passed, and he found himself smiling softly as though every lantern knew his secret. By the time he reached the quiet square, the last of the crowd had gone home. Only the fountain sang its gentle song, water spilling over stone, sparkling faintly in the moonlight. Elian sat on the edge, placing his satchel beside him. For the first time in years, he opened his notebook. The one worn at the edges from so much travel, its pages smudged with half-finished sketches. He turned to a fresh page, and there, with steady hands, he began to draw. Not a map, not a building, not some fleeting scene along the road. He drew the lantern, the one that had found him, chosen him, carried him into the cavern of dreams. His pencil moved slowly, gently, almost like the lantern itself drifting through the night. And when he finished, he closed the notebook with a deep, satisfied breath. Above him, the sky shimmered with countless lanterns still climbing higher. But he knew now, the one he carried inside was enough. Elian rose, stretching his arms lightly. His body felt loose, unburdened, like he had slept a full night's sleep even though he had not yet closed his eyes. The city's silence was no longer empty. It was comforting. The soft hush of stone streets, the whisper of leaves, the faint lull of water. It was all part of the same gentle song, the one he now carried with him. He walked toward a small inn at the edge of the square. A lantern hung outside its door, glowing faintly. Inside, the keeper would still be awake, ready to offer him a room. And tonight, for the first time in a long time, Elian knew he would rest well. He paused for one last look at the sky. The lanterns shimmered like a river of stars, drifting endlessly upward. Somewhere out there, perhaps other travelers were finding their own forgotten dreams. But here, now Elian had found his. He whispered softly as if to the sky itself, "Thank you." And then with a quiet heart and a peaceful spirit, he stepped inside. And so the story of the lanterns comes to rest. The city of Loria continues to glow, night after night, sending its dreams into the sky. And somewhere within it, a quiet traveler sleeps peacefully, carrying his light inside. As you lie here now, breathing softly, perhaps you can feel the same calm that Elian felt. The lanterns above you, floating higher, carrying away the worries of your day. Every thought that weighs heavy on your mind, every little burden you still hold, lifted like a lantern, drifting slowly into the stars. You do not need to chase them. You do not need to hold on. The night will carry them for you. All you need to do is rest, to let your eyes grow heavier, to let your body soften, sinking deeper into comfort, and to let your dreams find you the way the lantern found Elian. Sleep now, gently, peacefully. Your light is safe, your dreams are waiting, and the lanterns of Loria will guide you there. Thanks for listening. Hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe.